Morning, guys. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm just going to leave it a minute because I can still see people are joining. So I'll give it a minute and then I'll kick off. So just let a few more people join the call. Can I just double check? Can you all hear me okay? Could you put your hands up to show that you can hear me? Yep. And Tim, that's you saying you can hear me as well? Because I see on the message that you said you're having problems. Yes, don't worry, Matt. This is going to be recorded, so that's fine. I can send a copy to your colleague. No worries. Okay, guys. Providing you can all hear me. Yes, Tim, you are all muted. As this is a webinar, I'm the only one that has audio, unless I allow audio. So yeah, so you can chat to me on the chat box. In the chat box. But apart from that, I'll keep you guys muted, and then at the end we can ask questions, and I'll unmute you for the questions. Can I just check, guys? Tim's telling me he can't hear me. Can everyone else can hear me because you put your hands up? Yeah. Okay. Tim, I might just have to send you the recording because everyone else is saying they can hear me. So it must be a problem your side. Okay. I don't want to delay any longer because I appreciate everyone's probably really busy. So I'm gonna kick off. Okay, firstly, thanks for joining me this morning. I'm going to kind of talk you through tried and tested methods of how to use LinkedIn to successfully engage new prospects. And what's really interesting about the techniques I'm going to talk you through today is that these can be used on completely cold prospects. So you haven't even got to have an existing relationship for these this process and these techniques to work. So first of all, I'm going to just give you a bit of an introduction of myself. My name's Ross Crawford, and I'm the MD at Mr. Digital, a digital marketing agency that's been going for 4 years now. We're a team of 18. We do everything from development all the way through to fully fledged marketing strategies and campaigns. We are experts in lead generation on LinkedIn, Facebook ads marketing, Google ads marketing, Google Analytics, and SEO. So we've got a kind of full set of experts who are in the team. So we really understand all the different areas that work together. But obviously this is going to be focused predominantly on LinkedIn. However, what's interesting is that a lot of the same principles across the different areas of marketing are used regardless of what campaign you're doing. So when we talk today about the optimization of a LinkedIn profile, that's using actually a lot of techniques that you would from SEO, but you're applying it to LinkedIn because you're looking to be found on the algorithm. So this morning, I'm going to run you through all of these things here. So we're going to start with looking at the fundamentals of LinkedIn. So that is getting your profile up to scratch, making sure that you can be found online, and that when you are found, that you're given the right impression, because you'll be surprised how many people get confused between the difference between, say, Facebook and LinkedIn and the type of content you should have on your profile. And it is very, very different because there's different audiences on both. Then we'll have a little look at posting. And with posting, again, I've categorized that under fundamentals because for us, posting is something that you need to get in place to run seamlessly, but you shouldn't have to invest too much time and attention if you get the strategy right in the first place for it, because it's something that you just need to keep churning out while you're focusing on the other areas which will actually draw in your prospects. And then once we've been through that, we're going to dive into actually looking at how you can prospect and how you can create a prospecting strategy. I'll introduce you to Sales Navigator, which is a LinkedIn premium feature, but it's a really, really cool feature and has and is designed for sales teams and for sales professionals to build relationships on LinkedIn. Then once we've done that, what we'll do is we will look at how you can create and monitor prospecting lists, and this will be done within Sales Navigator, and I'll dive into the account and show you how you can do that, and why Sales Navigator really is a tool worth investing in. And then we will look at writing the perfect messages. So that's the connection requests and first degree messages. And I'll explain the difference when we get there as well. Then what we'll do is we'll look at the role of LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn ads can be slightly more expensive than a lot of the online advertising platforms, but it has a key role to play if you're choosing LinkedIn as your platform to prospect. Then a very important one towards the end there is going to be looking at how you can effectively manage and measure your results. And this is something, it's so important, but people often forget. And if you don't measure it, how do you know if it's working? Then to finish off, I will take you through a few little LinkedIn hacks. So a few little tips and tricks that not many people are aware of, but they're just really simple things that can help you get one step ahead. And then I've got a little bonus for everyone at the end as well. So let me jump in. Firstly, I'm just going to start with recapping. I'm sure the fact that you're all on here, you don't need to understand why LinkedIn is important, but we'll just give you a couple of stats on it, just to kind of give you confidence in the platform. There are 575 million users on LinkedIn, 260 monthly active users. So, and this is by far the biggest business social networking platform, as I'm sure you know. A key one here, and this is one people don't often talk about when they look at kind of stats of how platforms work, but LinkedIn is known as a real credible source of content. So when you're posting something on LinkedIn, people automatically see that as more credible than if they saw something on your website. So it's a really good thing to consider in your strategy about why posting on LinkedIn works, because if people see it, they instantly feel like it has more credibility than if it was on your own website. And an interesting one here is 50% of all social traffic to B2B sites comes from LinkedIn. I suppose it's not surprising considering it's the business network, but it shows you actually how powerful a platform LinkedIn is. So here we go, the fundamentals. So as I said at the beginning, it's really key that before you dive straight in, that you get these things right. When we speak with clients, we often we sit down, we have a meeting with them, and they just want to like dive straight in and get out prospecting straight away. But actually everything is a process. In marketing, it's all about doing things in the right order, creating the strategy first, and then doing each stage in the right order so that you get the desired results at the end, rather than jumping straight in and actually causing issues and a detriment to the campaign and the results that you're actually looking for. So the first one, obviously, as I've just mentioned, is your profile. And people, like, it's not just the fact that you go on there and create a profile, but actually you've got to think about this. It's a bit like, as I said, optimizing a website for Google. You've got to optimize your profile to get the desired results you want. And that is, firstly, you need to be found, because yes, people might have a conversation offline, then search on LinkedIn, but there are also people searching for specific people, specific jobs, specific suppliers online. So if you want to ensure that your profile's found, you've got to optimize it and think about what words you're using on your profile to ensure that you get found. But obviously, then when they find you, you also want to give off the right impression. So, and that, because that has a big impact as to whether or not it goes anywhere, whether or not they've seen you offline, met you in person, and actually whether that gives you more credibility when they go to your profile, or whether actually they're put off by the lack of content or the lack of professionalism in your profile. And on your profile, there are lots of things you can do, but we're going to touch on kind of the main points of kind of things you can do. And a lot of them are quick wins. I mean, you don't really need to invest a lot of time if you know which areas to invest in. So firstly, I mean, very important, but again, people can get confused because on Facebook, it's okay to put any picture you want, really. It could be a night out, anything. But on LinkedIn, having a nice, friendly, approachable headshot so that people, one, can instantly recognize you if they've met you at a networking event. They know, yep, that's Ross. We recognize him. So make sure it's up to date. Make sure that if you change the way you look, that your profile image stays with that. Because if you do meet people, they will be, and they look up online, you need it. You need to have that consistency. But yeah, keep it as a professional photos would be ideal, but they don't have to be, as long as the background's not too overwhelming. And then for your banner, have something professional. It could be something simple. It could be something easily created on Canva. People aren't familiar with that. It's a website where you can create banners on LinkedIn like within minutes, and they've got templates you can edit. But just something that fits in line with your branding and your profile, so that when people do look at your LinkedIn profile, it's on brand, and it is giving that professional image that you want. So that's profile and banner. And then the next one's probably, I would say, the number one thing that you need to make sure that you get correct, and that is the headline. And the headline, by default, LinkedIn puts in your job title, your most recent job title, but by no means do you want to have your job title in there. It means absolutely nothing to nobody. And when somebody's doing a search on LinkedIn, so if somebody was searching marketing professional or Ross Crawford, because they'd heard about me, it shows your headline. So what you want to do is tell people what you do and how you can help them in that headline. Nobody cares about what position you're in your business. They care about how you can help them, what you can do for them. So rather than putting digital marketing expert, I help brands get everyone talking about them, grow their customer base, and increase the return on investment from their digital marketing. That speaks to people and tells them very, very quickly, a bit like an elevator pitch, summarizing very, very quickly how it is I can help people. So and this is really important when we get into the prospecting, because as you start engaging with people, when they start to think, who is this Ross Crawford? As soon as they look at me, by reading my headline, they understand what it is I do and how I might be able to help them, not just what my job title is. So I would say, if there's one thing you take away from this, it's making sure that you optimize your headline so that it instantly tells people what you do and how you can help them. Then a few other important features from a profile is, you see down here on the left of the screen, we've got featured content. So again, with a LinkedIn profile, the way it lays out, obviously you can move things around. So it's up to you how you position it, but we recommend, and we've seen better results by having the featured content, which is the things that we want to show people. So like a portfolio or things, having that at the top of the profile underneath the description, because it's the things you really want people to see. You don't really care about what your previous job roles are, unless maybe you've worked at, like in my case, Google, Amazon, or something that might be quite impressive. It's showcasing your work and your best work. So using featured content really does a good job of that. Then you've got licenses and certifications. And you might think, well, what's the point of this? This works really, really well, not just if you're hoping for a headhunter to find you, but it works well because it is used in the algorithm for the search on LinkedIn. So if people are searching for LinkedIn lead generation, LinkedIn will know that I've got a certification in that. Therefore, my profile is going to be more relevant than others. So having them in there are great for one being found, but two, then it adds credibility. So when people come to my profile, they can see we're an expert in Google, expert in Facebook, and expert in LinkedIn. So straight away, we're giving adding credibility to who I am right there from my profile, without even having any direct engagement with anyone. And then another one is skills and endorsements. And LinkedIn groups it together. Endorsements really, I don't think has huge value to it. Obviously it's great, but lots of people endorse each other regardless of actually whether they've used each other's services. So I don't think as a feature it worked quite as LinkedIn planned. But the skills test can be quite effective. And a skills test, basically, LinkedIn, you can see it says here, take a quiz, take skill quiz. Basically, LinkedIn has a few different skill quizzes in various different industries that you can take. And if you pass that test, it marks it down as you're an expert in that field, which again helps when people are looking for you online and also providing credibility. The only downside to this is it's very limited in the actual skill sets it does offer tests for. So you may find that there's nothing there because there's often very, very specific things. Then this is one of the newest features, but again, really, really important. And it shows you where LinkedIn, the direction LinkedIn's going. And this is providing services. This came out less than 6 months ago, I think. And basically you can select up to 5 services that you offer. And LinkedIn enables people to be able to search by profiles of people offering those services. So it's obviously, if you want people to find you online to be able to maybe work with you, then getting those services in is key. And especially like anything, being one of the first means you're likely to get more traction from it than in 3 years' time when everyone's got their profiles filled with the same services. So I would suggest you log onto your profile now and select the 5 most relevant services, because not everybody is up to date with this. So by being one of the first, you're going to be one of a smaller pool of people. So definitely something I would do. Now, moving on to posting. And as I said, this is kind of something you want to get in place, but you shouldn't want to have to spend too much time once you've got your strategy and you know what you're doing, because it can consume all your time, and that's not what you want, because it's unlikely that you'll get results from a single post. It's going to be off the whole strategy over a long period of time, supported by actual outreach prospecting as well. So the posting is just there to support and provide credibility. So you do need to find an efficient way to get it out there without consuming all your time. And one of the ways in which we do it, and we find is very effective, is create a strategy. So start off by actually thinking about the different themes, we call it, as things that you might want to talk about each day. So have a think about what they could be. And this is just an example of what we did for a client in the commercial property sector. So think about it, think about the messages and the feelings that you want people to have on each day. And then that kind of guides and develops kind of direction for your strategy. It doesn't mean you have to commit to doing that. Again, it's up to you how you hold yourself accountable, but it gives you the guidance that you need, takes the pressure off thinking, oh God, what do I post today? And it ensures that the things that you do post have been considered and thought about. And it also enables you to plan a lot of content in bulk, so that you can do research, spend a few hours, gather loads of content, and then you've got that, and that becomes your content bank. So you can either schedule it for the month ahead or have it there so you've got something to rely on. So if you don't have something to post about reactively, you've got a bank of content of things that you can post about. It takes a lot of the pressure off and reduces the time. Then we've got, and this is particularly key for LinkedIn, hashtag strategy. So once you've had a thought about what your themes are and things you want to talk about, think about what hashtags you can use for those posts. And the reason it's good to have a hashtag strategy, one, LinkedIn is increasingly becoming more reliant on hashtags and allowing people to find each other and engage, taking a bit of the kind of inspiration from Instagram there. But one of the other important things with it is, because people can find you from hashtags, is having a hashtag strategy means that you're considering how you can get found. So, and let me explain this in a good way. So with hashtags, there's obviously the big generic ones. Okay, so a good example here will be this one is hashtag weekend on Friday. There could be millions and millions of people using that. So whereas weekly roundup could be less likely. So actually, or it could be something a bit more what we call long tail. So something slightly lengthier that will have a good volume of people using it in searches, but won't be the most commonly used term, because it's a bit like SEO again. If you want to be found for London hotel, that's going to be much tougher and much more competitive. If you wanted boutique hotel, London, then that's slightly less competitive because there's less of them around. And you want to apply the same techniques to your hashtag strategy. So you don't want to go after the biggest, broadest terms that everyone uses necessarily. Not saying that you need to exclude them, but you need to include some that have a good volume of people searching, but are not the most competitive, because then you've got a higher chance of being found. And again, this applies to Facebook and Instagram as much as it does, and Twitter as much as it does LinkedIn. But it's really key to actually think about it rather than just use what comes to mind at that time. And as you can see, the other things we've got on here are thinking like buzzwords. How do we want to make people feel from the posts? Because this is, everything you post is part of your brand. This is almost like your online PR platform. So you need to consider how that will be received from your audience that are looking. So it's good to really think about that. And again, by putting a plan in place, you can consider that rather than just posting and kind of hoping for the best. And another one here to look at is content sources. So as I said, you need to try and be as time efficient as possible when it comes to posting. So having a list of sources or places you can go to get the content will save you a lot of time in the long term, because you know, okay, I'm going to go to these websites, or I'm going to pull the content from here, or I'm going to take inspiration from these competitors. But it will give you a clear strategy and a clear kind of indication as to where your content will come from, rather than every day trying to think about where you can get it from. Invest that little bit of time up front and it'll pay dividends in the long term. Okay, so that's getting your profile and your posting strategy in place. And then once that's done, and I do stress that you should be getting those things done first. Once they're in place, that's when you should say, okay, now we're ready to start engaging. Because if you start engaging with people and they check your profile out, one, we need it to be relevant and it to do a good job at getting them to say, yes, I do want to have a conversation with this person. And two, if they're checking what you're posting, it's relevant and they look at it and think this is good stuff. But once you've got that done, then you can look at engaging. And so again, just like with posting, when it comes to engaging, you want to have a strategy in place. And by having this in place, you know exactly what it is you're trying to do and exactly what you're trying to achieve, and then exactly how you can track whether or not it's been successful or not. And the way we do it, and everyone's slightly different in the way they do it, so you don't have to follow this exact process, but the way we like to do it is we set out, okay, we work backwards and we said, what are the goals? What are we trying to achieve? So in this example for this client, they've got an average sale of £500. And they said they need to convert at least 8 in this 3-month period, which would bring them revenue of £4,000 to start being profitable. So we looked at that and said, okay, what are your conversion rates? We spoke to them and they said 50%. So that meant we need to generate 16 leads for this client in order to get them that £4,000 revenue that they need at a minimum. Then we look, okay, to achieve that, if we've got to get 16 leads, how many people do we think we've got to speak to? So if we work, like I said, backwards here, we say, okay, if we arrange 20 phone calls to 20 phone calls or meetings, we know not everyone's going to turn up. So this allows for 4 people to drop off and say they're going to have the call or meeting but not turn up. So straight away we're allowing for that because that's a natural process. You've always got to realize there's always going to be a bit of wastage there. And then to get those 20 phone calls or meetings, how many people do we think we need to have direct contact with and engagement? And we've put 80. So then that's 25% confirming that they'll be happy to go ahead with a phone call or a meeting. And then if we're working, if it's 80 people we've got to have that direct relationship with, actually, how many people do we need to be engaging with in total? So we know to have a real decent conversation where somebody's likely to start saying they might be up for a meeting or a call, we know we've got to engage them at least 3 times before we send them a message. So, and that's engaging with their profiles online, their comments, liking their posts, replying to their comments. So we know we've got to do that. So that's it straight away. We know whether or not we're on track with that. Have we, throughout the 3-month period, have we got 80 people who we have engaged with 3 times? It's very, very easy for us to track and measure and say, yes, we have, no, we haven't. And if we can see as the months are going that we're not on track, we've got to up our activity because we know that as a minimum, that's what we need to do if we're expecting to get these results. And then in order to engage with that, how many people do we think we need to target in the first place? And for us, we work on, it's just over 50% of people we end up engaging with from the people that we initially target. Generally, again, it does depend on the audience that you create and how active they are on LinkedIn, but you can see all that stuff when you create it. But so for this campaign, it was about us engaging with 150 people, prospects online, of which 80 we want to message and engage with at least, engage with at least 3 times. So comments, likes, replying to them. And then out of that, we'll make sure at least 80 we send a personal direct message to. And then out of that, we're expecting 20 phone calls and 16 leads. And then so we're looking, these are just our goals. These are things that we've got to achieve. But in order to achieve these, we've got to take action. And those actions are, we need to create lists on which we use Sales Navigator to create different lists of audience to target so that we can test the different audiences to see how they respond and see how engaged they are on LinkedIn. We've got to create a selection of LinkedIn message templates so we can test the different messages to see what's working and see what gets a better response. And we need to be active a minimum of twice a week to engage with the users. And we know that because if people are posting, we don't want to wait 3 weeks and then engage with that post. We've got to check in every couple of days so that we're staying super relevant and we're responding to anything somebody's posting in kind of real time. And then we've got to monitor the follow-up process to ensure their prospects are getting timely responses. And that's something that we always build into our strategy, even though we don't do that for clients, because there's no point us arranging 20 phone calls, sending 16 leads your way, and then the people, and then you're not following up, because that's going to impact the campaign. And if we're working with you to help you get the results, you need to make sure that the follow-up is just as effective as the pre-follow-up work, because the fortune's in the follow-up. And if you're not following up quickly enough, you're going to lose that prospect, and trying to draw them back in is going to be difficult. So as you can see, this is when you're creating a campaign and looking at prospecting, you've really got to think about it. It's quite simple, but actually there are lots of stages that you need to include in it. But doing this, you can track your progress, see what you're doing, and you'll know whether or not it's working. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you to Sales Navigator. This is a premium feature of LinkedIn, I think about $65, £65 a month, but well worth it in our opinion if you're actively using LinkedIn to prospect. So I'll show you now what you can do on LinkedIn, so on Sales Navigator. So one of the main things you can do is create lists. I'm just going to click on this and it will open up. I'll just show you now. So here we go. This is me being able to search for a lead. You can search for either leads or accounts, or you can do a combination of both. But just to give you an idea on the type of things you can use to search from, which you can't generally, some of the really cool things are posted content keywords. So if you know that your audience talk about and post about a specific kind of topic, you can actually create lists of people that talk about those words. So you can include those words there, and that will apply that to the filter. So it could be really, really good if maybe you're an IT company and you wanted people who maybe use Microsoft Office. You can include those as keywords, and then anybody who is posting anything about that, that they would appear on your list. So, and again, you can use a combination of all of these types of things here, but you can do years in a position. So how long has somebody been in a position? What's their level of seniority? How many years at a specific company? Whether their job title is current or past. Their relationship with you. So again, if you're trying to do quick wins and you're not going for necessarily the completely cold people, but maybe warm, you can go for people who have got a relationship with you. It's kind of a first degree people, to people that you're already connected with, so you can message them much easier. I mean, you won't need to engage as much up front because there should be already some kind of existing relationship there. And what's really key, if I just show you on accounts, so if you're doing it on accounts, what you can actually do is do department head growth. So if your target audience are big, large companies, enterprise level companies, you can say, actually, am I targeting the IT department or the accounts department that have grown 100% or whatever? What's their growth rate? So you know that if you're looking for businesses that are growing, therefore if they're growing, they're more likely to be willing to spend money and invest. Then this is a great tool to be able to do that. And you can do obviously annual revenue as well, department headcount. So you can see how many people do they have. So a good one for us is we work with a lot of people, a lot of businesses that have one or no people in marketing. So we can target specifically for businesses with that, so that we don't go for very large companies where we know there's a huge kind of process to go through for the sale, and that's not really our target market. So it makes it nice and easy to reach the people that otherwise could be quite difficult to reach. But then once you've got those lists of people, what you can do, basically, once you've done your searches, you can create lists. So if I just show you here, here's one we've done for action coaches, which is one of our core audiences. So we do the search and we save it as a list, call it whatever we like. But by having these lists, we can check this daily, come in and see, has anybody changed jobs? Not super relevant for this audience for us, but it might be for you if you're targeting a sales team or marketing department in a company. If people change jobs, it's a great conversation starter. So it's a really good reason for you to be able to say, kind of reach out and kind of break the ice and start that conversation, because it's a reason to talk to them. But the key thing here is looking at who's posted. So we can click here and it will show us who's posted in the last 30 days. And if you check this regularly, you'll be able to check these people, see who's commenting, visit their profiles and start engaging with them. And what you'll see if I flick back here, that when you go onto individuals' profiles, so Sales Navigator allows you to monitor those lists, track those people, see who's posting. When you know who's posting, you go through and you visit those individuals' profiles, the ones that are on your list, because you know they're your target audience. 2, you know they're posting regularly because it shows you on Sales Navigator. So then you monitor it and you go through and you look at their posts and you engage. And when I engage, I mean, yes, you can like, but actually a lot of people like. But the one thing people don't really do is comment. It's almost the thing that people are too lazy to do. So people will like all day long without even understanding the posts, but they won't they'll very rarely comment. And that creates a massive opportunity for you, because as soon as you comment, if you commented on my post, I get a notification saying that you have commented. So straight away, I'm becoming aware of who you are. And if your headline's been optimized, I know exactly how you can help me as well. And by doing this and repeatedly doing this, as we said, looking back at our strategy, we say a minimum of 3 times for a prospect that we should engage with that kind of level of commenting and appearing on their kind of notifications before you send any direct message to try and actually engage on a one-to-one basis. Because what it's doing by commenting, you're showing that your support for them, which means that, one, they're aware of who you are when you do directly reach out. They already like you because you've been supportive of them, and they're quite thankful often. And sometimes you'll find that they end up messaging you before you message them. Often we find through our activity that people message to say thank you for engaging, because so few people do it. It's very obvious when somebody is being supportive. So it really is kind of the best kept secret on social media generally, but very much so on LinkedIn, that people just don't comment. So by commenting, you're going to get noticed. And when you do that, to know that it's working, you'll start seeing signs. One, if you comment, the person will likely reply to your comment, which shows you straight away that they're becoming aware of who you are, and they're thanking you. Then if you do it, continue to do it, you'll see that they start checking out your profile. So it will show you, as LinkedIn profiles do. And with Sales Navigator, you can see all of the people who check your profile out. It will tell you that that person is checking your profile out. So you'll know that now they're seriously looking at your profile. So they're considering who you are. And they're doing this because you've been engaging with them. So it's all these little signs which are showing you that what you're doing is building a relationship before asking for anything. And that's what good sales does. Okay, and so now we've been engaging with them. You've got your audiences, you've got your strategy, you're posting, your profile's optimized, and you started engaging with people 2 or 3 times. So now it's time to look at actually sending a message and engaging directly on a one-to-one basis, because this is where, if the first bit's done right, this is where you see the conversions turn around quite quickly. So firstly, we've kind of separating this into 2 parts. You've got people who you'll be prospecting who you are not directly connected with. So if they're not a first degree connection, you can't send them a direct message without using up an email, which is a kind of paid for credit to be able to message people directly, which you get 15 of per month as part of your Sales Navigator. But we recommend don't really use them unless you kind of have to, because if you can connect with people first with an effective message and they accept, you don't need to use up one of the in-mails, and it doesn't come through and say in-mail, which almost looks like an ad when you're sending a message. So we'd say engage with them online. If you're not connected, send a connection request, but don't send it thinking about what's in it for you. Think about how you can get them to respond first, because that's what it's about. You want them to accept your connection and respond to your message, not feeling like they're going to be sold to. But because you've done the work beforehand, they're already quite supportive of you and like you, even if they haven't spoken to you, because you've been supporting them. So something like this works really well. Hi, Ross. I'm writing in the hope of finding the person who handles marketing at Mr. Digital. So if it makes sense to talk, let me know what your calendar looks like. And what this does is it says you're asking for something from them, but it's not coming across as if you're trying to sell to that person. And what you'll find is when you approach something like this, people are quite receptive to being able to, okay, yeah, I'll help you. Oh, you're looking for this person, let me help you. It's like stopping someone in the street and asking for directions. Quite often people will be open to stopping and giving those directions. But if you try and stop someone to sell to them in the street, you're not going to get the same response. And it's very, very similar to that. So you can see here, that example there. So think about the message, keeping it short and simple, because you only have 300 characters in a connection request. And obviously the objective of the connection request is just to get them to accept, because once they've accepted, that's when you can send an actual message. Okay, and now we come on to the message template. So if you're already a first degree connection, so you connected directly with the person, you can send them this straight away. If not, you can connect first and then look at sending something like this. Again, but you be careful that you don't repeat what you're saying. But you can see here, because you have 1,500 characters, you can sell yourself a little bit more as to why they should engage with you and respond to you. So here, hi Ross, I'm writing in the hopes of finding the appropriate person who handles marketing, and then talk about how I can help, and then putting in there some of the clients that you might work with, or even businesses that you're in discussions with that might get the person you're trying to target get their ears pricked up. Because if their competitors are engaging with you, then if you're reaching out to them and you mention their competitors' names, the chances are they're going to take more notice, because people always want to know what their competitors are doing, and it's a case of, well, if they're doing it, we should be doing it too. But what you're doing here is asking for the appropriate person to speak to. So again, you're not saying, hi, I want to do this and I want you to use my services. You're asking who the appropriate person, because people don't like to undermine their own authority. So if it is them, they generally say, yes, that's me, how can I help? Or if it's not them, what they do is they say, hi, sorry, that's not Ross, that's Harry. And then you can use that, and you can find Harry on LinkedIn, message Harry and say, hi Harry, just spoken to Ross and he recommended I speak with you. Because although he hasn't done a personal introduction, you can use the person's name, because they have referred them, as a way to get them to respond. And it's the little simple things like that which are so effective. And here's an example of this one, to say with the details filled in. So, hi Toby, I'm writing in the hopes of finding the appropriate person who handles marketing. We work with marketing teams to implement growth strategies that drive more traffic, convert more leads to customers, and ultimately increase the return on investment from their marketing by acting as an extension of their marketing team, and all for an affordable fixed fee. Some of our clients include Beyond Bathrooms, Pantry, and SaaS Alliance. If you're the appropriate person to speak with, what does your calendar look like? If not, who do you recommend I talk to? So you can see it's not directly saying, hey, I want to sell to you. You're saying, who's the person I've got? And you're explaining what you've got to offer them. It's not about, hi, we're looking for new clients. This is what we do, and here's who we work with. And if you can relate to competitors, as I say, just adds so much credibility. And if you aren't working with any of their competitors, but maybe you're messaging, you're in a discussion with, you can put, we are currently in a discussion with Beyond Bathrooms, Pantry, or SaaS Alliance. Because just by saying you're in a discussion is not saying they're a client, but it's making them instantly, the recipient will read that as, oh my God, they're working with them. And so it will increase the chance of them responding effectively. So now this is kind of looking at how where the role of ads fits into this. Because as I said at the beginning, ads can be slightly expensive with LinkedIn compared to other platforms. But if you are doing, you're doing all this activity, you've got your profile optimized, you're posting regularly, you started to prospect online, the role of where ads fits into that is that you can target the exact same audiences, the exact same prospecting lists is what you're targeting in Sales Navigator, using the same filters, and apply that to ads. So, and with the ads, they'll be coming from a business page. So for example, when we do it, I'll be messaging people from Ross Crawford, starting to build a relationship up with them, and people will be able to see that I help businesses with their marketing from my headline. And then they'll also be seeing ads, but coming from Mr. Digital. So it's building a relationship up with Ross Crawford, the individual, and also Mr. Digital, the brand. And the same audience are receiving both. And that means that you're tackling them from both sides, one from the business and one from the individual. So it can work really effectively to use it as an integrated sales and marketing strategy. But again, it really does depend on what your budgets are, what you're looking to get from it, because with it, if you're expecting to put an ad live and instantly get a return, that's unlikely to happen. I mean, occasionally it can do, but if you're using it as part of a kind of a wider strategy and it playing a part, like a brand awareness, helping provide credibility and trust, and then you're more likely to get the actual direct sale lead from the prospecting activity, but that supports it, and it plays an important part in supporting it. Okay, so now you've got all your activity that's running, but now you need to make sure that you are measuring the results effectively. How do you do that? Well, The way we do it, and we recommend people do it, is whatever targets you had in your strategy. So we've got the same ones here: 16 leads with a revenue of £4,000, and this is over a 3-month period, so April to June. For example, what we do is at the end of that quarter, or we change it to, we can look at it on a monthly basis as well, is we do what is called an end review. So it'll be a month end review or a quarter end review, or both, and a year end if you're doing it over 12 months. And then we can put down any changes in strategy under the different section. So what this means is that at the end of a month or end of a quarter, you're looking at where are you in terms of your strategy. So you go back and you look at the goals that you were trying to achieve. Are you engaging with 150 people on the list? Are you engaging at a deep level, a minimum of three times with 80 people? Because if you're not doing that over the quarterly period, then you're unlikely to hit your results, because that's all the level of activity you deem you need to do from the beginning in order to get those results. So by reviewing that on a monthly basis, you can see, hold on, how many have I done? 40 the first month or 20? And you can see whether or not you're on track to do that 80. And then you'd literally put your notes down at the end of the review, but don't worry and beat yourself up if you don't achieve the results, because when the first month you do something, or the first quarter you do something, you don't have anything to benchmark yourself against. So you have to do a level of activity to then sit down, and when you review this and say, okay, yes, we put down 150 people, we engaged 3 times with 80 people from that list, but actually we only arranged 10 phone calls. That would be half of what we expected. But so that what that would tell us is then the next quarter, we need to speak to 300 people. Then we need to engage with 160 people 3 times in order to get those 20 people in. So you can directly relate the amount of activity you need to do, because you've got something there. But it doesn't mean don't create the strategy and put figures there in the first place, because you need to have something to aim for and then something to measure against. And then you use the results from that you can put in by tracking it at the end of the month and end of the quarter, and actually say what worked, what level of activity did we get. You might find that you get 40 meetings booked off the back of it, in which case, if you can only handle 20 a month, then you reduce your activity, but you know what you can do and you've got something that is actually measurable. And it's so important, otherwise you can continually invest time, effort, money in doing activity, but you don't know whether it's working. So unless you're measuring it, you just won't know, and it will be a waste of your time. Okay, and now I just want to go through a couple of little LinkedIn hacks, the little things that some people know, some people don't, but they're useful things to know on LinkedIn. So the first one is that if you're a member of a LinkedIn group, you can go into that group and you can see, for example, this digital marketing group here has nearly over 1.3 million members. And because I'm a member of that group, I can go there and click on see all members, and then I can message these members directly, even if I'm not connected. So with Celine, she's a third degree connection. So normally I'd have to use an InMail to message her or send a connection request first. Julia here, not connected whatsoever, but you can message them. You can message, I think it's 15 a day now, because LinkedIn keeps changing it. 15 people a day with a direct message by accessing it this way. If I just search for Julia, I wouldn't be able to, but going in via the group and clicking see all to members, you can message those 15 people for free, and it goes through as if it's a direct message. So it's a great little hack if you're looking to prospect but don't want to keep purchasing emails, or you haven't got the people aren't responding to connection requests. That's a great way if you're members of the same group. So again, it would be worthwhile looking at what groups you're members of and where your prospects are and joining those groups, because it opens up that channel to be able to message people for free. And then this one here is kind of if you've ever been at any events and you want to quickly connect with the people nearby so you can follow up later. It's called Find Nearby, funny enough, and you use it on the mobile app. And if you go to My Network when you're in a room, say at an event, and then you click on the Find Nearby, once that's activated, that will bring up all of the people nearby in the same room, and then you'll be able to connect with them as well. And that's a real quick way of being able to just go through and connect with everyone in the room, so then you can follow up with them later on. Because if you go to your connections, when you get home or the next day, you can filter by recently connected with. So you'll know all of those people that you connected with the day before are likely to have come from that event.